Eagle 6 in the track.
Roger.
Virpil 1 bombs away. One's going to climb high above 20. You're south.
Eagle 6 radar contact. Eagle 6 is visual.
And it goes left.
Welcome back to the DCS SITREP, the news show on all things DCS World, which is developed by Eagle Dynamics and its third-party affiliates, and brings to us the world's premier combat flight simulator right now for the home PC. Now, we talked last week about ED cooking something in the background this past month or so in preparation for what I suspected was some sort of release or an announcement, and sure enough, last week, the news was the MiG-29A Fulcrum is ready for pre-order in the eShop right now. This week, ED released a whopping patch on the back of that announcement, chock full of a long list of core updates and numerous other changes, which we will focus on today. So we begin with a massive quality of life update for the game in the form of the new quick action generator, the QAG or QAG. The team explained the rationale for this particular feature as follows. One of the main barriers for new DCS pilots is creating gameplay content. Although the mission editor is very powerful, it can be complex and time-consuming to learn. To mitigate this, the new QAG offers a convenient and quick way to generate simple missions based on a few simple selections. It allows players to experiment with all DCS aircraft across all eras and maps over a variety of mission types. All right, let's take a look at the key features of the QAG, which include the rapid and simple content generation compared to the mission editor, the capability to construct missions based on all of your DCS aircraft and maps with a high degree of mission customization, does support World War II era to the modern day, scale missions from just a couple of aircraft to multiple flights and ground force groups. Aircraft, ground units, and ships can be sorted into groups based on their historical era. Manually select enemy and allied aircraft and set them as targets and supporting flights. Option to modify and select aircraft loadouts. Ability to change and select aircraft liveries. User interface built upon the F10 map to facilitate unit placements. Optimize AI behavior for all difficulty levels. Adjust the location and orientation of forces on the QAG map. Option to add and remove air, land, and sea targets, configuring up to 4 aircraft in a flight, set the distance, altitude, and loadout options, add escort flights for appropriate missions, add air defenses to protect targets, add or remove wingmen, and set their skill level. On first launch, the generator loads the last map and aircraft used. Formations, assignments for flights of up to 4 units, both allied and enemy. The QAG adds a new capability for DCS that is aimed at both new DCS players to generate unlimited content, but also provide a tool for veteran players to test new tactics, try out new sensors and weapons, and practice before entering a match. And Eagle Dynamics looks forward to feedback from the community on this new feature. So I think it's a great quality of life improvement for the game because the mission editor is as described, but it does get a little over involved if you're just trying to build some pretty finite missions, and quickly the mission editor isn't quite as user-friendly for that feature. So again, I think it's a really good idea, and it's going to be interesting to see the community reaction and reception of that, and if it gets tweaked based on feedback in the near future. So stay tuned. Oof. Let's move to core game features. There were a massive number of changes listed in the extensive changelog this week. The Phantom 2 by Heatblur Simulations and the Mirage F1 by Aegis being another jet getting a lot of attention this week in terms of updates. To be expected with these newer aircraft, particularly the Phantom 2, which is quite complex. But it's an interesting set of additions that they have done, and really Heatblur certainly one of the spearheads for innovation in the game, with no disrespect to the other teams, but they are very, very good at coming up with new things and innovative ways of introducing concepts, aircraft systems, and so on and so forth into the game. So let's have a look at this overview. For the core, Eagle Dynamics say that they are continuing to improve mission loading and performance, both in 2D and VR, thanks to improved asset loading from memory, which is good news. Don't forget to, well, we've still got a little bit of an issue with NVIDIA drivers by the looks of things with the arrival of the 50 series cards. some of these new drivers don't gel well with certain units and some of the older series cards. We're talking 40 and below. Pimax for VR, for those of you that use that, don't forget there has been an update in their software as well as some firmware updates. So there's a lot of moving parts in these equations, but always check to see whether or not it's worth updating your drivers. I rolled my NVIDIA drivers back to one from December, which was pre-50 series card launch, but regardless, there's still some tuning, I think, that goes on. Now, several visual issues have been addressed according to ED. They say here that DLSS has been updated to version 310.2.1.0, and voice chat client server architecture was improved for better connection stability. Aircraft AI behavior got updated for tankers to be able to fly at lower speeds. They will use their flaps and things now, and tweaks for cases where formation, losing leader or wingman, and JTAC messages now include a wider range of weapons. So the full changelog will have more information on that. Let's start though with a piece of equipment that Eagle Dynamics is still working hard on, and a piece of equipment that a lot of people have asked for, and that is the data transfer cartridge, or DTC, and this has received an update this week that fixes crashes tied to custom CMDS files, track replay corruption, and mismatched countermeasure parameters. Default profiles now load reliably, COM presets respect guard frequencies, and the tool now sits beneath other UI layers, and it can be closed with the escape key. So some good additions there, and again, some more quality of life updates. Now, as far as Eagle Dynamics modules go, the team say that the FA-18C, SA, and Auto EW page options have been corrected. The track while scan HOTAS azimuth selection quirks have been fixed, and adjustments were made to the HMD cross for wide angle VR users. The F-16C improvements include a number of radar adjustments, saving targeting pod contrast when leaving the TGP page, and several CMDS and COM fixes. The AH-64D saw fixes to fuel check, alignment, FCR stowage, HMDQ projections, and auxiliary tanks. The Chinook CH-47F benefited from cold weather engine tuning, reduced IR signatures, corrected rotor parking, and new liveries for Spain, Iran, South Korea, and Canada. The F5E beacon lights now illuminate correctly. Third-party modules. The JF-17 Thunder received radar logic improvements, refreshed MFCD HPT data, and progress on the new TWS EXP mode. Cold Germany map received improved power lines, corrected taxiways, refined icon placement and radio beacon frequencies, and model error fixes. Additionally, helipads are now tree-free, which is good news, and route resource optimizations have been made to improve frame time consistency across the battlefield, which is good. Now, a couple of the biggies. I mentioned, of course, heat blur earlier, so let's dip into this extensive changelog, which is really interesting because this aircraft is, as I said, among the leaders of innovation and cool new ways of introducing equipment and other things in the game. And it's been a delight to have this aircraft in the game. So they started here with the new. They've added a new and improved probe icing model. There are no visual effects yet, but that has been added. Crash to desktop, so fixed potential CTDs resulting from Jester modding related Lua files. Remember, these were opened up recently, so you can play around with them. They've done some significant improvements to feel and accuracy, especially in landing and takeoff scenarios. It's a trickier jet to fly, just a different way of moving that. It feels like you're have to fly it a little bit faster, and that seems to be the case. So they've improved the stabilator simulation and ground effect, which reduced the effectiveness very close to the ground and at high pitch angles. Minor adjustments to the airflow around the AOA probe with the landing gear down. On speed, as I indicated, should be slightly faster now. Flight model reduced slat-induced pitch oscillations when slowly passing the slat deployment retraction AOA range. This should eliminate some of the porpoising that could happen when flying in specific airspeeds and AOAs. They've improved the slats over center simulation. They've fixed cockpit pressure initial valve at hot start, which could also cause Jester to freak out at high altitudes. They've fixed the location of the landing gear, light switches, and the related landing door operations issues like an occasionally stuck in a door. They've tuned the pressure regulators of the hydraulic pumps to keep the max pressure closer to 3000 psi. The issue with the hydraulic pressure dropping caused by a bug in the pressure calculations for some components such as tubes and manifolds residing behind a closed valve. They've overhauled the lamp damage and wear now yields more varied states and visual feedback. Ask your crew chief to replace the damn bulbs. They've fixed Jester startup issues where Jester would fail to initiate startup items in certain conditions. They've increased a range at which Jester won't ask about fuel near airports and the nearest tanker somewhat. This feature will see more improvement yet. For multi-crew, they fixed the throttle cutoff in the multi-crew. The throttle should now move for the WSO in multi-crew where the pilot when the pilot moves it. They've updated RWR databases. They've updated handoff sounds. They've fixed the potential RWR handoff sounds looping issues. They've done things here to fix the flicker animator to avoid stuck animations. Potential fix for unsynchronized refueling probe door in multiplayer on other aircraft than your own. The oral tone system set to 50% volume for all starts. This is contrary to the manual, but better for gameplay. And they've fixed a major sound bug with other Phantoms would barely be audible from your cockpit with the canopy up. And they've fixed the strange stepping in audio for the left engine. Also improved for sounds, the phasing protection for dual engine sounds. They've added TACAN to the AI aircraft, and they've added a special option to force feedback off. And they've also improved the crew chief flight controls check stab down report. Yeah, sometimes that wouldn't happen. So interesting too. I'm still waiting to see what Windwing does with their force feedback system. That could be a game changer as well. So we'll see, hopefully in the near future, some sort of announcement when you can actually pick that up. I suspect that they may be wrangling with the tariff situation. We'll have to wait and see, but we've seen some videos from Windwing on it. I definitely want to get my hands on one of those because I think it's going to be revolutionary, particularly for helicopter flying in game. Now let's move over to the Tomcat too, because remember that the work that was done on the Phantom 2, a lot of that was going to be translatable or back portable to the Tomcat, which is also a hugely popular module right now and continues to be so since its inception. It was very well received when it was first released, and it continues to be so. So here are some aesthetic and other bits and pieces. So night lighting, they've made a pass to improve night lighting visuals, distances, and extant issues, including things like they fixed the right wingtip collision light not appearing past level of detail 1. They've improved distance at which the nav collision lighting is visible across most LODs. They fixed the formation lights, the slime lights disappearing on wingtips beyond 100 meters. They fixed wingtip lights not moving with the wings with distant LODs. For the Forrestal, there's a first pass to significantly improve the Forrestal class lighting system. The eye-flaws is not visible from the sides anymore. Runway lighting is visible from a longer distance. Changed the minimum pixel sizes for most lighting types. They've extended the range at which mast navigation lights are visible. They've increased refueling probe light distance so that the basket should now be more visible when doing aerial refueling at night, which is good news. And if you like aerial refueling at night, it's not even sometimes enjoyable during the day. But anyway, Jester ignores neutral enemies detected visually in BFM. He will no longer go crazy and call out neutrals as bandits and give dogfight calls. That's helpful. Iceman, they've disabled the Iceman with weight on wheels. This should help with instances where you switch to the Rio cockpit and Iceman resets, example, your trim or your autopilot settings, which is not helpful. AA TACAN to AI aircraft. They've fixed the flicker animator and afterburner animations when switching cameras. They've added the Top Gun 104 livery for the F-14A. They've fixed distant LOD appearing darker than it should due to a missing rough matte texture. They've fixed non-owned ship aircraft not having exhaust sounds in multiplayer. Other jets should now be correctly audible from your cockpit with the canopy up. They have fixed the strange stepping in audio for the left engine and improved phasing protection for dual engine sounds. The Viggen got a few updates as well, so they've limited the distance parameter on pop-up points to the whole kilometer. Fixed the B&A line hiding. They fixed for kneeboard waypoint names and removed repeating custom cartridge found message in the log. So just some minor changes there for that aircraft. All right, moving over to a different team. Argus or Aegis with their wonderful Mirage F1, a really nifty little aircraft, this one, and they've done a great job of introducing not only the aircraft but also several variants. So what have they got going on? So they've titled their various changes in categories here, starting with general. So the module options are taken from the server mission now only for the F1BE in multiplayer, and when it has solo flight option disabled. In all other cases, the options are read from local settings. They've added a shortcut for ready for pre-contact radio message to the tanker. That's nice. In terms of systems, they've fixed IFF panel not clickable in multiplayer missions. Navigation and formation lights should now be correctly visible on other clients in multiplayer. They've fixed external animations that were stopped once the pilot ejected. It was especially noticeable with navigation lights in flash operating mode, apparently. Other affected animations are landing and refueling lights for the F1EE. They fixed inoperative light and panel lighting rheostat access input command. Fixed the left wing fuel tank requiring unrealistically high Gs for it to actually rip off. They fixed the F1 CEBE IDN, wide arrow moving to the last known TACAN position when IDN is switched to VT mode, when the TACAN signal, even with the TACAN signal being invalid. Moving on to weapons, they fixed the bug that prevented the radar missile launch in auto mode. The R550 pylon fire safety flap now, once retracted, doesn't extend anymore when IAS drops below 150 knots. They fixed the sidewinder audio not being heard when only the left wingtip pylon had a missile loaded. AIM-9B and 9P missiles now can be launched only when G load is less than 6G. R550 missile launch can be activated now with intermittent track with chopped lock tone. The missile will be actually launched once the track steady was established. R550 intermittent to steady track transition now depends on the target off bore sight angle at the moment when it was detected. They've implemented R550 missiles 30 degrees wide scan. The currently existing 5 degrees narrow scan, bore sight scan, is enabled while cannon 300 to 600 meter and missile lock unlock button is held or pressed. The R550 and Sidewinder missiles can be locked now, and missile audio can be heard with master R in the off. In these conditions, the missiles can't be launched. The missile's status will be displayed in or on the optical sight. R550 Sidewinder and the R530IR missiles will not be displayed as ready in the optical sight before their gyros spin up is complete, and the R550 missiles will not be emergency jettisoned until the pylon's safety flaps are in, once the IAS is greater than 150 knots. Sidewinder missiles Seeker's instantaneous FOV and maximum track rates were updated. And lastly, the 3D model, they've added the missing F1BE rear canopy locking hook. And lastly, the team reminded us, gave a plug to the Virpil Controls BFM Cup, which is a weekend-based guns-only dogfight tournament held over the Caucasus map, so you don't have to buy a map or anything like that, and it's open to 9 fighters. You need to register, though, at virpilservice.com for the tournament BFM for a chance to win a Virpil Flanker grip. It's a pretty cool-looking grip, actually, in fairness. There's also store credit and a DCS module in the prize list, so do sign up if that's something that you're interested in. There's no way I'm going to do that because I'll be shot out of the sky in a flash, and we relegated to last. So, however, for those of you that are interested, yeah, do check that out. I had a quick look around the verse today. I'm operating on very little sleep, I must say, but there's not a whole lot going on right now in terms of third-party updates. I try to keep abreast of as much as I can within the given week and weeks leading up to DCS SITREPs. I am extremely busy right now, absolutely buried in work. In fact, one of the reasons I have no sleep right now is because I got woken up at 2 a.m. to deal with something at work. So wasn't done till about 8 o'clock this morning. So that put a dent in my day, I must say. So I'm very, very tired. I really just want to go back to bed, but I'm going to stay up for a bit. Maybe we'll have an afternoon nap here in the backyard or something. It's a nice day today in Minnesota, at least in the Twin Cities. Beautiful sunshine, temperatures are cool, not too humid, and yeah, we're almost into the summer proper here, not far away. And it's going to be an interesting summer with all of the things going on in DCS world right now. We've still got this Fulcrum to be released. I expect there will be some videos from WAGS. I think WAGS has been reasonably quiet over the last 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 4 to 5 weeks. That could be an indication of work he's doing on the Fulcrum as by way of introduction for various systems and, how to use some bits and pieces. So that could be why we haven't seen a whole lot from Wags. And of course, he is a very, very busy man. So stay tuned for that. Once you start seeing those videos, we may get a closer clue as to where the release date will crop up here for that. Plus, we've got Octopus G and their LA7. We are still waiting for pretty much a lot of World War II stuff, the Marianas Islands World War II version of the map, which will be free, and also the Corsair, the Hellcat, and whatever else may be cooking in the background there. So there's lots of third-party modules that I'm looking at, but I haven't really seen a whole lot of update on. I know people bring up the Sky Radar. I think that's still, it's still being worked on. There's still, from my understanding from at least one person in the team, there's still work going on there, so don't get too upset. These things, take time with smaller teams who are working part-time or, have limited resources compared to some of the bigger teams, and even the bigger teams. Let's be real, it doesn't. These things don't just happen overnight. We've got Heat Blue still working on the Phantom 2 and updates to their existing modules like the F-14, as we described in the body of the video today, and they're also working on the Eurofighter 2000, the Typhoon, or whatever variation tranche, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a bit of a Frankenstein's version of that because it borrows bits and pieces. And yeah, any number of other third-party teams who are working on things. And of course, all of these really decent, actually. I must say, I have to give a tip of the hat to some of the non-sanctioned, if you like, or unofficial teams who are working on mods that, bring to life aircraft that ED can't, won't, or hasn't got the capacity to bring to life. And we're talking things like the Skyhawk, for example. We're seeing the T-38. So there's lots of stuff in the winds. One thing we are looking forward to, and we've seen a little bit from the C-130J module that's now official. I don't know when that's coming to pass. And yeah, there's just lots of different things sitting there ready to, at some point be injected into the game. So stay tuned, as always, and thanks once again for all the likes and the subscriptions, the comments, and the feedback. That'll do. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Stick around. We'll bring more news and information as it comes to hand. We'll see you next time. Cheers.